Sajo hurries down the street, calling for Aika to wait. Annoyed, Aika orders him to stay away because he is being incredibly bothersome. When Sajo protests her bluntness, Aika counters that his persistent behavior leaves her no choice. Sajo wonders if he truly annoys her that much. Aika confirms it and demands he stop immediately. When he claims he can't, Aika declares she can no longer tolerate this dynamic. Suddenly, a football flies out of nowhere, narrowly missing Sajo's face and leaving him in shock as it zooms past. Sajo reflects on his life as an ordinary high schooler known on campus mostly as a persistent stalker. To him, Aika is a beautiful goddess, and his massive crush drives him to approach her passionately every single day. However, the near miss with the football triggers a psychological shift inside him. Seeing him dazed, Aika briefly drops her irritation to ask if he is okay. Sajo quietly confirms he is fine. Aika quickly recovers her cold demeanor, warning him that this danger is exactly what happens when he stalks her. She tells him never to approach her again and walks away. Instead of fighting back, Sajo quietly agrees and resolves to step away. In the classroom, Aika is chatting with her friend Kei when Sajo walks in. Kei greets him, but Sajo gives a muted response. Kei jokes that his near miss was divine punishment for his daily misbehavior, and Sajo calmly agrees. Though Aika tries to drop the subject, Kei warns Sajo that Aika will only dislike him more if he keeps this up. Sajo surprises them both by agreeing completely. Stunned by his submissive attitude, Kei asks if he has a fever. He denies it, leaving her bewildered until the teacher enters and orders everyone to their seats, even remarking on Sajo's unusual quietness. During recess, Sajo encounters Aika in the hallway. She assumes he is stalking her again, but he clarifies he is just heading to the restroom. Inside, male classmates corner him to ask if they fought. When Sajo notes that arguing is normal for them, they point out that he usually pesters her regardless of her anger. Sajo admits his mindset has changed, suddenly asking if it genuinely looks like he loves Aika. The boys find the question ridiculous, noting his obvious infatuation. Sajo agrees, explaining he loves her so much he just wants to support her from afar. At lunchtime, Sajo leaves his desk. Aika nervously speaks up from her adjacent seat, but gets flustered and claims he misheard when he asks if she called. When she demands to know where he is going, Sajo explains he is just heading to the cafeteria. Nearby students are shocked by his restraint, whispering about how he usually makes a massive scene trying to share her lunch. Embarrassed, Aika tells him to leave before time runs out, and Sajo quietly complies. Eating lunch alone in an isolated spot, Sajo questions his own feelings when a girl approaches, addressing him by name. She introduces herself as Rina from the neighboring class. When Sajo asks why she sought him out, Rina playfully tells him to guess. Finding the game annoying, Sajo calls her a pain, prompting Rina to comment on his harshness before leaving. Later, a classmate tells Sajo a female visitor is waiting for him. Rina appears at the door. Sajo notes his shock that a cute girl is seeking him out, which infuriates his classmate, who accuses Sajo of flirting around while pursuing Aika. Just then, Kei and Aika enter, creating instant tension. Aika acts cold towards Sajo and leaves to fulfill her duties as class helper, accompanied by Kei. Left alone with Sajo, Rina worries she gave Aika the wrong impression. After PE class, Kei corners Sajo, calling him a cheating womanizer for looking at other girls. Sajo is confused, but Kei points out his interactions with Rina, revealing that Rina is deeply devoted to a second-year boyfriend she has dated since middle school. Back in the classroom, Kei finds Sajo lost in thought. She accuses him of being preoccupied with Rina. Sajo admits it and prepares to ask a question, but Rina enters to chat. Kei steps in aggressively, demanding Rina explain why she broke up with her boyfriend. Stunned that Kei knows, Rina grows defensive. Aika tries to restrain Kei, but Kei dismisses her, claiming Rina is targeting Sajo. Rina admits the breakup happened because of her own bad personality traits. Kei, however, insults the ex-boyfriend, claiming Rina is better off with Sajo. When Aika yells at her to stop, Kei doubles down, calling the ex awful for discarding her. Deeply hurt, Rina begs Kei to stop bad-mouthing him and runs off. Sajo rushes after Rina, accidentally colliding with a shy girl carrying papers. He apologizes, but the girl runs off. Tracking Rina down, Sajo apologizes for Kei's insensitivity. Rina questions why he's apologizing for someone else. She notes that Sayo never mentions Aika around her, and he explains past experiences taught him not to discuss other girls with a female companion. Rina calls him an experienced romantic, though Sayo admits he's never succeeded in love. When Rina notes everyone knows he loves Aika, Sajo concedes but admits his heart has cooled after so many rejections. He asks about Rina's romance, and Rina opens up. Her boyfriend mentioned Aika was his type, prompting her to break up with him. Though she knew it wasn't a deep declaration, she found it unacceptable and tried to use Sajo to make her ex jealous. Sajo sympathizes and shares a middle school story about being rejected by a girl who insulted his looks, whose boyfriend then tried to hit him. As he flew backward, he rammed face first into Aika's chest. Rina is shocked, and Sajo adds that Aika immediately screamed and slapped him. When Rina asks why that made him fall for her, Sajo explains Aika then defended him, angrily telling the bullies that mocking someone's genuine feelings is terrible behavior. Rina finds the story moving, but Sajo reveals he made it up. Bewildered, Rina listens as Sajo clarifies that while that specific event didn't happen, Aika is exactly that virtuous. It began as love at first sight, but he became serious because of her kindness when she first extended a hand to help him. Sajo declares he is essentially an Aika fan, viewing her as a goddess and choosing to support her from afar. Rina reminds him he wanted to date her, but Sajo explains continuing would make him a nuisance. He resolves to quietly wish for her happiness as a rejected admirer. Rina admits his perspective cheered her up. She declines his offer to scold Kay, realizing Kay was just protecting Aika. She promises no more trouble, concluding with a sigh that all men have flaws. A few days later, Kay and Aika spot Rina and her boyfriend reunited down the street. Kay expresses pity for Sajo, noting he was turned down by both girls in short order, and Aika quietly agrees. At school, Sajo tells Kay his time with Rina was a pleasant dream. When Kay asks if he's satisfied with just memories, Sajo admits he knew Rina had ulterior motives, but decided to enjoy her company anyway, calling a girl like Rina a man's ideal landscape. Overhearing, Aika asks if he's truly comfortable with that. Sajo explains that since he is already heavily disliked, he never expected anything positive. Kay observes that Sajo seems stranger than usual, but he responds that his past behavior was the true abnormality. Classmates join in, mocking Sajo's gloomy expression and asking if Aika finally broke his heart. Sajo jokes that they are undergoing divorce proceedings, shocking Aika. Later, Sajo stares into a mirror, recalling his attempts to ask Aika out and calling himself a fool for chasing someone out of his league. Suddenly, Aika arrives at his house. Stunned, Sajo invites her in and asks how she got his address. She explains some club boys gave her directions. Sajo notes she must have an important reason to visit, awkwardly mentioning no one else is home. Aika gasps, but accepts his quick clarification that he meant nothing inappropriate. Without their knowledge, his older sister Kaide arrives and listens from the hallway. Aika asks Sajo if something happened, clarifying that while he's normally weird, his current rational behavior feels truly bizarre. She vents that he used to be unfazed by rejection, confessing that his sudden lack of attention feels unsettling. Sajo looks at her and directly asks her to go out with him. Aika reacts with shock, stating there's no way she'd agree given the bizarre timing. Sajo calmly notes he already knew she'd say no. He explains that relentlessly pursuing someone who rejects you is creepy through a normal lens. Before he can finish explaining his sudden realization, Kaidi bursts into the room. She pretends to notice Aika for the first time, excitedly asking if she is Sajo's girlfriend. Sajo denies it, explaining it's just business, and offers to walk Aika home. Kaide mocks his gentlemanly attitude. Aika recognizes Kaide, asking if she's on the student council. Kaide confirms she's the vice president, but calls it a major hassle. Walking Aika home, Sajo apologizes for his sister. Aika then asks what Sajo was going to say before the interruption. Sajo explains that since he harassed her in the past, he wants to clarify that he will no longer follow her around, looking forward to being regular classmates. Struck by his distant tone, Aika is further stunned when Sajo asks if she knows any friends who might be a good romantic match for him. Upset, Aika feints to hit him, but she then runs down the street crying that he sucks. The next day, a seating shift places Kay directly behind Sajo. She teases him about being separated from Aika, but Sajo notes the distance ensures he won't bother her anymore. He explains it was high time to move on. Kay accepts this, but says he must take responsibility for his past actions. Because he always hovered around Aika, other classmates felt unable to approach her. Sayo looks across the room and notices Aika sitting completely isolated. Realizing the truth of Kay's words, he resolves to dedicate himself to supporting Aika from afar.